Good evening, Central. Pastor Ben here, Pastor of Evangelism and Community. I wanted to share just a devotion for tonight on what I shared with the Vesper service last Sunday, being ambassadors of good news. And generally speaking, an ambassador is a respected official acting as a representative of a nation. So, sent to a foreign land, the ambassador's role is to reflect the official position of the sovereign body that gave that person authority. So, Christians are God's ambassadors, in that they have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. And as we go through this world, we represent another kingdom, and it is our responsibility to reflect the official position of heaven. We're in this world, but not of it. So only when we're authentic to who we are in Christ are we being good ambassadors for the good news in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5 kind of gives us a good piece of what God is talking about through Paul as he writes to the church in Corinth. And the first 10 verses, he talks about us living in these earthly tents. That is a temporary place that we live in. That our home dwelling is actually in heaven. And the rest of the verses in 11 through 21, he's talking about then a ministry of reconciliation. That as we're here on earth, what does it look like to be reconciled with God? And then give that message to others. They can also be reconciled with God. And that brings about his work here on earth. So, 2 Corinthians 5, 17 to 20. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Paul Tripp wrote an article on ambassadors, and this is what he wrote. The Apostle Paul is writing this letter directed to all Christians, no matter the occupation: pastors, school teachers, personal trainers, garbage collectors, stockbrokers, moms, police officers, everyone, everywhere, all the time. The job of an ambassador is to represent someone or something. Everything he or she does and says must intentionally represent a leader who isn't physically present. So an ambassador isn't limited by 40 hours a week, or to certain state events, or to times of international crisis. An ambassador is always on call, always representing the king. So in other words, the work of an ambassador is incarnational. Their actions, character, and words embody the king who isn't present. So in the same way, the Apostle Paul teaches that God has called us all to function as his incarnational ambassadors. Everything we say and do has importance because of the king we represent. This isn't a part-time calling. It's a lifestyle. We represent God's purpose to the people he places in our lives. The primary question on our mind should be, how can I best represent the king in this place with these particular people that he has put around me? This is much broader than a commitment to organized ministry activity occupying a portion of our weekly schedule. I want to turn our attention to 1 Peter 3:15, when Peter writes to the church, and he says, "But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for the reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect." I love this passage, and I believe most have heard the part of always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. We hone into that defend part of this verse, and we act as if this is something I have to be defensive about or prepare myself for attacks. But what Paul was talking much more about other things. He was talking first, in our hearts, honor Christ. Everything we do glorifies and honors God. Second, always be prepared for what? When someone asks, and when someone asks, that means there's someone in relationship or contact with you that asks, what do you have that this hope is in you? Not why you're a Christian and defend yourself on why you believe that way. It's they see something in you. They see the hope. And too often we've been labeled with this Christianity, and then we feel we have to defend it, rather than giving that hope of what we believe, and they see it in us, and that's why we're trying to share with people the hope that's in us. And 3, do it with gentleness and respect. I want everyone to think of your favorite food. I was trying to think of an illustration that paints this picture for us, and Think of maybe a nice steak or deep dish pizza from Chicago, or maybe some good dim sum. For me, I like all those things, but I love sushi. So some sashimi, some tuna, some salmon, and some really good rolls. I love it. So let's say I wanted to invite you over for dinner, and I order from my favorite sushi restaurant. So I get that, and I ask you to come over, and it looks really good. It looks fresh. It smells good. I don't know if sushi smells good, but just go with it. We have our soy sauce ready. We have our wasabi. We have some ginger garnish on the side, and we're getting both really hungry. And I tell you to take a seat, and I'm going to prepare it in the kitchen to get it ready and prepared for us. And as you wait in the kitchen, in the dining room or the dining room area, I come out of the kitchen with all the sushi ready. But instead of a big sushi boat or even a clean plate, I come out with all the sushi on a garbage can lid. You suddenly lost your appetite. This amazing dinner has been ruined by the way I have presented it before you and brought it before you. I share this illustration because this is the way I think that we are presenting the gospel and Jesus to this world. We're bringing the gospel on garbage can lids. We are living lives that aren't clean and pure the way that God has called us to find Jesus cleansing us. We're living lives that are not saying the words that are clear in this beautiful dinner. It's more about just ways that they're focusing on the garbage lid. And God is calling us to see how we can present his message in a way that people can see it for what it is. So Martin Luther wrote, "The world does not need a definition of religion as much as it needs a demonstration of it." Our lives need to continue to live out the gospel. So let's go and demonstrate God's reflection of love with compassion and kindness, and do it in a way that's presenting the gospel, not on a garbage lid, but showing people who he is. Let's go together, Central, and God bless you all.